Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our show brought to you by Daniel Hood Roofing. Whether it's a hole in your roof or a whole new roof, Daniel Hood Roofing can take care of you. I'm always telling you to go to their website, and that's because not only you talk about a breakdown of everything they offer and all of the tremendous roofing options, but also there's just a pile of testimonials. If you printed this thing, it would look like a phone book. Go there, see for yourself what East Tennessee neighbors, your neighbors, are saying about Daniel Hood Roofing. DanielHoodRoofing.com is the place to go. You know Daniel from our show. We trust him with our roofs. You can trust him with your roof. Daniel Hood Roofing. All right, back with Josh Ward and Vince Ferrara, and we're going to be talking Tennessee football recruiting. Back on July 3rd, you see here, this is the most recent, this is as of yesterday, 24/7 Sports has their composite rank where they compile all of the different services. Tennessee ranks 11th in the nation, 19 commits at the moment, 1 5-star, of course, Nico Iamaleava, and then you've got just 7 4-stars. So you've only got 8. You're the low man on the totem pole there in that group. Florida has made a run. Back on July 3rd, you guys were with me, and we said, how does it look right now? And everyone said, well, it's a big month. Let's see how it shakes out. Okay. How did it go? Josh and Vince, how do you feel that the month went for Tennessee?
Well, I think July went great. However, I think long term, they're still going to need to make more of an impact. You need difference makers, and obviously they have several of them, Nico and several on the offensive line. They're addressing the tight end position with playmakers. But long term, there's got to be more bang for your buck. You have the numbers there, 8, 4, and 5 stars combined. This program doesn't have the big numbers in terms of depth, so they need to fix that. But so you have to get more for what you're bringing into the program, and I think that's an area where you can still improve. You know, some of those other schools, they're going to add late, and Florida's on a run, and some of the others, Texas A&M, will add to it. So I think there's room for improvement, even though they went through that really good stretch of getting commits.
Yeah, Florida creeping up, as that graphic shows. A&M is not shown. It will be later on in the recruiting cycle. So how have things gone in the last 5 or 6 weeks? I would say good in adding Shondavian Bradley. That was kind of a must-get for the staff, and they got him. Yep. Adding somebody like Christian Conyer, the staff said, we've got to get that guy at corner and beat out Kentucky for him, maybe the top player in that state. Right. Tennessee did that. But Jakeem Jackson went to Florida, not Tennessee, so now you have to face him. Tennessee landed one offensive lineman, Sham Umarov, who I think they liked, but they wanted more of guys who committed. Lucas Simmons went to Florida State, missing out on Francis, who was a big-time target, probably their top target at that position. Yeah. So there are big misses in terms of high-level talent. So I'd say recruiting is going good. It's gone better than it was a year ago for sure. In-state recruiting has improved. It's not where it needs to be, I'd say, to realistically compete for championships when you see those SEC teams that are still ahead.
Well, and that's kind of where I want to go with this. I mean, I'm never going to sneeze at a number 11 ranking. Mm-hmm. You know, Tennessee is typically in the top 15. You're there. You're in that ballpark. You've got your all-star, hotshot, 5-star quarterback. So there's nothing wrong with that. It just feels like it should be better. And I wonder if it weren't for David Ubben, that devil, and that story he wrote on Spire Sports in The Athletic, that was kind of the bombshell that everybody then starts going, collectives? What are collectives? Well, if it weren't for that, did that bounce the expectations way too high? Did that make everyone think, oh, wow, Tennessee's going to be up there with Alabama and Texas A&M this year because of the NIL? We're top 5 in the country. And now you're looking at it, you're like number 11, you're 4th in the SEC, Florida's right behind you. That's kind of where we normally land. What's the big deal here? Did that initial Spire Sports boom, when they announced we are here, baby, and everybody took notice, did that work against Tennessee fans in terms of the expectations that, hey, we're going to be great? And then you look at it, it's like, we're just kind of where we normally are.
From an expectation standpoint, sure. Because the funny thing is, I think Spire is absolutely a benefit to Tennessee in the recruiting efforts. On 3 this past week, they put out an ambitious NIL ranking. Spire was number 1. So I think it's absolutely helped. But there's still the football side of it, and there's still more that has to be done, I think, on the field against these programs that are, for the most part, more established. I mean, Miami's had its own issues, and Florida just had a coaching change there. So they also have some football challenges to deal with. I still don't know to the level of Tennessee. So did it did it change the expectation, some of these comments about what's going on behind the scenes and how Tennessee's operating? Probably so, but I think Tennessee needs to take what it's done, which is good, have better results on the field, and I think this time next year recruiting can be even better for Tennessee.
The hit percentage has to be much better with what they bring in, because like you mentioned, they've been bringing in top 15 classes before. And so I think there's a little bit of, we've been there, done that. And maybe that's where the expectations are, where they're a little off. But the only way you get away from that is to get top 1, 2, or 3 classes, and they're not in that range.
Yeah, to be clear, I don't have anything against Spire. I'm not saying they dropped the ball. I'm saying, though, the initial frenzy that surrounded Spire Sports, and then everybody else kind of caught up. It's one part of it that everyone forgot is what you mentioned, that is, well, players are still going to pick schools also based on who's good or not.
Yeah, Carnell Tate wanted to go to Ohio State, and maybe NIL was a factor there. I'm sure it's going to be a factor for a lot of these highly ranked guys. I mean, John, when we go back to early July, we talked about where's Tennessee going here. I said, well, if your expectation was top 5, which I think Nico's commitment probably created.
That also added to the expectations, because you're thinking, oh, his coattail is going to be huge.
Yeah, but you probably have 10 to 12 at least schools, fan bases out there that are thinking we should be top 5 this year.
Yes.
And there are still only 5 spots available in the top 5, and that's part of the challenge. So if Tennessee's number 10 to 12, that's an improvement from a year ago, no question. And that is movement in the right direction, but to some it might be a disappointment. I would say that's unfair.
And there was an impact there, but it's an impact to get Tennessee in the conversation, to get Tennessee as a finalist for some of these kids. Of course, for some fans, it's about the end result. So even though you made movement there in having Tennessee as a factor for some of these kids, you're not going to get all of them, and they haven't.
All right, very good. When we come back, Georgia just gave a huge contract to Kirby Smart. Everyone thinks it's brilliant. I don't. We'll see if I can convince anybody here that I'm right. Rarely happens on this show. Come on back on the Sports Source.